Hi, I'm Steve Good. Welcome to my scroll saw workshop. I'm out in the shop today to talk about a technique on the scroll saw called bevel cutting. Now, a bevel cut is simply where you tilt the angle of your scroll saw table and do the cut with that tilt so that one piece will actually slide down into the next piece. And I'll show you here in just a second what I'm talking about, and then we'll get on to making a gauge to give you a quick setup for your bevel cuts. Here are a couple of projects that were cut using the bevel technique, and I can use these to show you a little better about what I'm talking about. When you set your table on your scroll saw at an angle and you make a cut, you will create a cone-shaped cutout that allows the pieces, once they're cut, to fall out only so far. Now, depending on the angle you set your table will determine how far these pieces move in and out. And you can see on this little nativity scene that the pieces slide out about 1/4 of an inch or a little more. You can also use the technique on this type of little basket where the basket is now collapsible because of the bevel technique. When you begin a pattern like this, it's important to find the correct angle to set your table, and what you'll usually do is take some scrap wood of the same size you're going to cut the project out of and make test cuts. So today, to speed that process up a little bit, we're going to make a gauge that you can make in your spare time and use the next time you get ready to make a bevel cut. So with that, I'm going to get the pattern on the wood, and I'll meet you over at the scroll saw and show you how to make this gauge. I've got my pattern affixed to the wood, and again, I will have this pattern on my blog at www.scrollsawworkshop.blogspot.com. And what we're going to do is we're going to cut each of these circles out at a different angle. In this case, the first one will be cut at 1 degree, 2, 3, etc. And it's important to know that the thickness of the wood is going to make a difference. So you may have to make more than one of these tools if you regularly use something other than 3/4 inch wood for your bevel cuts. Now, most of the time that is what you'll be using, so that's what I've got the pattern on here today. It's just a piece of clear pine that's 3/4 inch thick. Now what we'll do is we'll go down underneath the table and we'll set the angle of the table to our first degree, which is 1 degree. Now, you can think of this as cutting a cone in the wood, and the shallower the cut, the more dropout you will have of the wood, and I'll show you that as we go along. Let's go under the table and set the first angle. Underneath the scroll saw, in this case it's a DeWalt DW788, but almost all scroll saws will have an adjustment gauge like this where you can adjust your angle. This is the release knob that allows me to release the table and make the adjustment, and here's my marker, which is currently set on 0 degrees. What we're going to do is tilt it to 1 degree, go up, make the first cut, and then we'll continue that up to 8 degrees. And we'll tighten it back down. We'll go make our first cut. Back up on the table now, we're getting ready to make our first cut. Again, we've got the table tilted to the right 1 degree. We're going to cut out our 1 degree cone. I've got a number 5 Flying Dutchman blade installed in the scroll saw, and the thickness of the blade will make some difference. So when you make these, if you use different thickness of blades for your cut, you can make one of these tools for each blade and just go ahead and mark them. So I'm getting ready to cut out the number 1 cone now, and we'll see what 1 degree gives us. There's our 1 degree cut finished, and remember, the shallower the angle, the greater the dropout. So at 1 degree with this number 5 blade, we might see the piece drop all the way out, and that's fine. That's what we want to know when we pick up our jig. So let's see what we've got. In this case, when I push it down, you can see that we get at least 2/3 of the piece pushed out of the thickness of the wood. So 1 degree gives us a very high relief or bevel cut. So now we'll go below the table, we'll set it to 2 degrees, do the 2, and we'll continue on up to 8 degrees, and then we'll have our finished template to look at. So I'm going to go ahead and do those cuts, and when I get them done, I'll come back and show you the end result. Got all the plugs cut out. As I cut each individual plug out, I labeled which angle it was cut at. This is number 1. I've got the template set down here on the table that we're going to put the plugs in, and I've got a marker that I'm going to mark these plugs as I put them in. So what we'll do is we'll try to remove the paper from each one of these, set it in its position, and mark it. In this case, that's our 1 degree cut. We'll do the same thing with all the rest of the pieces around the template. We'll label them all, and then we'll push it out to see what we got. And the last one here. I think I'll go ahead and label them. So this will be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And now when we pick our template up and push all the individual pieces out, you can see we have a gauge that shows the depth of all the angles in a 3/4 inch piece of wood. So you can make this really quick, keep it handy next to your scroll saw, and the next time you have a pattern that requires a bevel cut, you can refer to this to get your angle, at least your beginning angle. You might have to tweak a little bit, but this will get you started a lot quicker.